Hello and welcome to Kerbal Space Program. I know that other YouTubers have done Orbital Rendezvouz videos, but I want to do my version because I think this is a trick that makes it very easy, and I also hopefully cover some stuff that Matt Lown and Scott Manley don't cover in their tutorials. So what we got here is a typical situation. We're in orbit around Kerbin, and we need to dock with Tom Lowe's shipwreck. Basically, he's stranded in space, and we need to go rescue him. Because we're in higher orbits than him, we need to get down and get down to a lower orbit to meet with him. So first thing you're going to want is Flight Engineer. In the Rendezvous tab, click on Ships. Well, depending on what you want to rendezvous with, in this case it's ship. Simply click on the thing that you want to rendezvous. And the thing that you want to look for is time till transfer. A Flight Engineer will calculate rendezvous transfer windows automatically based on the orbit, the information of the orbit, and simply tell you when you need to transfer. It works for planets as well as ships and a station, and basically everything. It does have some limitations. It doesn't work so well when the difference in inclination is too big. But for most, since most rendezvous are usually on equatorial orbits, this is going to be fine for 90% of the cases. Okay, so simply time warp until the actual transfer window. Let's get to that. Okay, so here we are. We've got 4 minutes until the transfer window. Simply click on the orbit about 4 minutes in and create your maneuver node. Simply, in this case, we're going to a lower orbit. Simply go retrograde, and simply pull back until you get the usual encounter. In this case, we're down to 7 points. I see. Down to 8.5 kilometer separation. That's good enough. Now you could you move this around if you want to get it closer. 2.1 kilometers. That's good enough. Now I'm gonna leave it at 9 kilometer separation because I want to show you a trick for reducing it. What you can do here is simply, alternatively, you can move it back and forth along the orbit to get a closer encounter. But for this example, let's leave it at 8.4 kilometer separation. Let's assume that you're in a situation where you can't get the separation too close from the transfer window. Okay, so simply time warp forward, and let's get to the newer node. This is simple. You should be able to do this with. This isn't a complicated part. Okay, so here we go. We're at the transfer window, or the maneuver node, whatever, and simply burn retrograde until we reach 0 kilometers. 2, 1, 0. Okay, we're done. Okay, and we're down to 6.7 kilometers. Okay, now this is my little trick for getting the separation down to under 500 kilometers, maybe 100 meters. We'll see. Okay. If you put the intersect at 12 o'clock, you want to time warp. Let's call this 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock. You want to jump forward to about 30 degrees from the intersect, or 2 o'clock, whatever. This is my little trick here. This is gonna be fun. Okay. Now, with the nav ball in target mode, okay, let's see. Okay, you want to point and the pink circle. Now the pink circle is where the target is. The pink circle points towards the target. The yellow circle points in the direction that you're moving, prograde. So in order to reduce the separation at the intersect point, let me pause this, you're going to want to move the prograde marker over so that it's on top of the pink target on the nav ball. And there's a very simple way of doing it. Simply point in the direction of the target, adjust your, not your inclination, well, simply rotate so that the prograde and the target markers are on a horizontal line, and move away from the prograde marker. In this case, because the prograde marker is to the left, we're going to move right. And you're going to do that up until the pink marker hits the edge of the nav wall. Alright, now we're at 6.7 kilometers. Look at what happens as we burn in this direction. 6.0, 5.5 kilometers, 5 kilometers, 4.5, 4.4, 3, 3.5, 3 kilometers, 2 kilometer separation, 1 kilometer, 0.1 kilometers. So now we're very simply, we reduced a 7 kilometer separation at intersects to around 100 meters. That's good enough for docking. Now, simply time warp a little bit closer to the intersect point. Let's see here. Again, use the flight engineer readout because it'll tell you how far away you are from the target. Down to 500 meters, 400 meters. Alright, let's start burning against. Alright, now we can see the okay. Second trick here. When you're moving towards the target and you're burning retrograde because you want to slow down, you can do this trick in reverse. The yellow, the retrograde marker in this case points in the direction that you're moving, and pink is the direction of the target. And you want to move the retrograde marker on top of the target. So simply, again, make sure you're on a horizontal line. Burn slightly in the opposite direction of the target, basically. Let's try and do that again. So yeah, we're getting closer. So it's make sure that it's on top. That's pretty close. And you can see here that we're down to a 0.0 kilometer separation. That's going to be within walking jetpack distance. Now, because I don't have docking ports unlocked yet in this game, we're just going to do an EVA. But as you can see here, very simply, we got within 35 meters of the target with this very simple trick. You don't need to mess around with maneuver nodes and stuff. It's just eyeballing the nav ball. Now we're going to match velocity with the target. Switch target. We're going to EVA our guy. Jetpack over to the working spaceship. And I'm not very good at this. And board. And we've rescued our Kerbal. Now, if we wanted to dock at this distance, it would be very easy if we're basically right next to each other. But there it is. This is my little trick for Orbital Rendezvouz. Very simple. You don't need precise maneuver nodes. You don't need any of this stuff. Just by eyeballing the nav ball, you can get within, well, I mean, look at this, we're at 10 meters away. So I hope this helps people that are having trouble with orbital rendezvous or want to make their orbital, excuse me, their orbital rendezvous easier. If you notice here, we started off with 2100 meters per second delta V. We're down to about 2000 meters per second. So this cost about 100 meters per second of delta V. It's not as good as doing that with MechJeb, because obviously that's a computer that's going to be the most efficient way of doing rendezvous. But it's not as fun to have a computer do it for you. 100 meters per second of delta V expended, and you have a perfect, well, nearly perfect encounter with your target. You can rescue your Kerbals, you can build your orbital stations, you know, refuel in orbit, and do all that fun stuff. A very simple trick.